Thank you for joining us for Be Persuasive in Your Writing and Communication. As you know, we're using Zoom here. If you're having any tech issues, we've got Avery with us today on tech support. You can use the chat right there to send her a message. And just so you know, if anything does go wrong, we are recording this. We are going to send you the recording, or you can try logging out and logging back in. All right, but hopefully we won't have any issues. So who are we at the Great Canadian Training? We've been doing this for a while, over 20 years. We've trained lots of people, spent lots of time training. And so what we offer is software and professional skills training. And so we offer that in public or private group training. So we have a public schedule of regular classes. Those are really great if it's you and maybe a couple of your colleagues together. You can look into that. Private group training is best when you have 4 or more of you getting trained together. What's great about private group training is you can customize the outline, you can make the topics a little more specific for your team. And also, instead of using our exercise files, you can use your actual working files. So you can get training and get work done, which is amazing. All of our sessions are live instructor-led sessions. We don't do recorded training, and it's either online, on-site, or downtown Ottawa at our training center. In addition to training, we offer coaching and consulting and database and custom app development. So it's really comprehensive. What makes us great, we have great customer service. Our team of training coordinators, they are so on it. It's amazing. I'm in awe of them, how quick they are to respond to things. Our trainers are fantastic, very engaging. It's important to us that training is something you actually enjoy and you find useful. So it's all centered around that. So our public class schedule, it's guaranteed to run. Even if you're the only person in the class, you can book your training and really have confidence in that. So really great. So who am I? I've actually been at our webinars this whole time. Usually I'm as the tech support, I'm kind of behind the scenes. And so I do that, and I'm our content coordinator. I just make sure everything runs smoothly with our webinars and produce some of our really amazing content. So that's what I do. But Carol is the woman we are all here to see. Carol's our facilitator today. She's fantastic. She's been a technical trainer for over 25 years. She teaches a wide variety of courses and just really great at how she explains things, how she encourages people to try new things, has really great discussions in her training. You're really going to enjoy her today. She has so much to share with us. So I'm very excited about that. Carol's also known as Mom. She's seen more than 5,000 students in her 25 years, and some still keep in touch. So that's how you know she's a good mom. So what will we cover today? We're going to talk about what does persuasive writing mean, understanding the importance of the words we use, knowing our audience, and then turning the tables. Oh, and the importance of final proofing. Sorry. So Carol, I'll stop sharing and I will let you take it away.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Please call me Mom. Don't call me Mrs. Miller. That's my mother-in-law. We are going to jump right in this afternoon, and talk about what it's going to take for you to be really good at creating persuasive communications. So let's begin here and look at the facts. To begin with, it costs money when you are not effective in presenting content. So we have to learn to be persuasive so that A, it doesn't cost time and it doesn't cost the company money. Interesting fact, and you can see it here, 97%. So let's face facts.
Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Carol. We can't see your presentation.
Oh, we cannot. Okay. Let's see the presentation. There we go. Everybody should see it now. So again, the largest percentage of people have encountered communications that weren't persuasive, weren't effective, and they had to repeat the conversation, whether that conversation is a email, whether it's a document or a presentation. So what can we do? Well, we have to learn to communicate in a very, I am going to use the term laid back, less stylistic manner. Notice the statistic here of how much it actually costs people, organizations, when staff are not effective communicators. $420,000 per year. Now, that's over 100 employees. Think yourself, how many times have you had to send another email off or another letter asking for more information? Or instead of just asking for information, asking for the information to be restated. Part of persuasion is covering all of these elements. Now, I'm going to throw up this little survey here. I want you to just think about this. To your train of thought, what does persuasion mean? Does it mean when you communicate, you're going to say in that communication, do this or else? Or in your communications, in your persuasive writing, is it going to talk to the emotions of the sender? Is it going to make it easier for people to agree and accept with what you're putting in that communication? Anybody think of anything else? Just jot some notes down, right? So someone says makes it easier for others. Okay, that's a good. Anybody else? Someone's posted in the chat window. C makes it easier. Okay, this is good. Anybody else? Anybody has anything different to add? Do the dequalifier here. No? Okay. You may rethink this. Okay. We have one person that says speaks to the emotions, gives logic, and adds reason. All right. And someone is really stuck out there on a limb and wants two. I didn't say it had to be a single choice. It could be multiple choices. But I think everyone will agree it's not A. It's definitely not A. So the power of persuasion, and it is true, we think about being persuasive to draw someone's emotions into our conversation, change their behavior, ultimately based upon what we have given them. So it's a real skill set to do this. And it includes knowing your audience, picking the phrases, delivering the structure in a certain way so that they feel you have invested in what they need. So it's not just emotions, but it's structure. You give content, you give data, analytics, so that they feel that you have taken the time to give them what they need to make a valid decision. Right? And it's not just in you composing, but it's then you following up as well. So to be a really good communicator, to structure everything, knowing your audience is 90% of what you have to do. Are you speaking to the CEO? Are you communicating with finance people? Are you talking to IT people? And everything in between. If you know your audience, you can pick the right phrases. You can structure the sentences in a certain way. You can give them what they are expecting to have if it's an argument, if it's a case they have to review. You're giving them enough to make a decision. That's persuasive writing. Let's talk about the W's of the writing. Who's your audience? Why are they consuming your communication? Why are they listening to your presentation? What do they need to take away? What do you have to give them? And why is what you are communicating important to them? Not to yourself, but to them. And you have to think of the end result when they've read that last sentence in the email or the last sentence in the letter or you have shown the last PowerPoint presentation, what has it all meant to them? What have you given them that they can take away, make a decision, learn? So you have to start from the very beginning. You have to do a checklist, so to speak. You should never feel rushed in your composition. Have a standard schematic or a layout, how you're going to do this. An introduction, a body, which has details, and then a summary. Assume that your audience already knows the answer, already has what they need, and then you are supplementing that. Let's talk about the C's. Now, the C's: clear, concise, complete, correct. You're going to say, well, of course I know that. But part of this goes along with your audience. Something that is clear and concise to one group of people is not clear and concise to another. So words matter. Phrases matter. To a group of IT people, for example, you might use the term contiguous. They know what that means. Other people, you might use the word join. Right? You have to pick it very carefully. So showy words, or words that are considered complex or non-traditional, they aren't wrong, but you have to know the audience. So pick them very carefully and be able to rework your composition so that it is clear to people that might not know the phrase. It's a skill to learn to write well. You have to understand phrases. You have to understand tenses, grammar, of course, punctuation, and you have to understand technology terms that change regularly. Redundant array of independent disks, that's technology. IT people would know that as RAID. Other individuals wouldn't understand that. So you have to be able to change it up for your audience. And we've done this, haven't we? We can all think of a letter that we've written or an email that we've composed and sent, and then the recipient sends us back something saying, "What did you mean by? Can you give me more information on?" So that's an issue. We all tend to rush to get emails done, whether it's an internal email or an external email. We rush to get it done and check it off our list. If you're composing an email, save it as a draft. Come back to it in 10 or 15 minutes and reread it. If you have to change it, that's a good thing because you're rethinking the content because of the audience. It is always advantageous to set up a template of things and structure that you always want to follow. For example, emails. If you attach to an email another document, where do you discuss that attachment? Should it be in the body? Should it be at the front? Should it be at the end? You have to understand a logical structure. If you don't know your reader, then you really can't be persuasive to what they're expecting. Now, for organizations, we have slangs, we have abbreviations, we have acronyms. We all have them. Internally, we assume that other staff members know what they mean. But there is no reason in a persuasive communication you can't, when you first use the term, right away spell it out. For example, RAM, spell it out, random access memory. And then later on, you can use the term RAM and everybody knows we're on the same page. People that are consuming your communications may hesitate to ask if you are using a phrase that they're expected to know and they don't. So this happens internally, and it can happen externally. We can all think of a dozen different terms that we use that the average person wouldn't know. So let's look at some of these sentences. I would like you to take a few minutes and just read them. Just read them. What do we think of the first statement? Is it plain language? Is it grammatically correct? Does it make sense? And the answer to all of those is yes, it does. It's grammatically correct. But is it the best structure? And the answer is no, it's not the best structure. People might have to read that twice. If the person receiving the email, receiving the letter, has to consume your content twice, you're not being persuasive. If you look at the second, with the second one, you're telling people what the option is. You don't want to tell people what the option is. So again, if you reworked that, it would be more persuasive. And the last one is a confusing statement. It is analytically correct. It is structurally correct, grammatically. But again, you are telling people what the option is. Persuasive writing does not do that. Persuasive writing gives people the information in a very solid way. They make the decision based upon what you provided. If you are a consumer or a recipient of email, think of all the times you have received an email message and you don't really know what's intended in the message. What do they want? What do they want from me? Or what are they giving to me? I don't understand it. And then, of course, we have to go through the process of responding back and asking for more. The author didn't give the consumer of that information enough or didn't present it well enough. So we have to take a step back and try to be clear. The lowest common denominator in all of this is basic understanding of what is sent, right? People have a lot to read. In business today, it's not unusual to get 25, 30, 50 emails in a span of 4 hours. The emails that will stand out are the ones that you read. They're concise, they're clear, you know exactly what is wanted, and it's done, right? Poorly written statements, paragraphs, documents as a whole, where someone has to ask that second question or has to ask for more, they're going to be put on the back burner. You want your information to stand out. So be clear and impactful. Now, it does show respect for the recipient if you've taken the time to follow those collection of C's, clear, concise, right? It shows you respect them. It shows that you are willing to take extra time when you are composing. Clear, concise, and concrete. Now, time to read a document. If it's an email, make it concise enough so that they don't necessarily have to scroll down and down and down and down in the email. A lot of that is fluff. Consider, instead of defining things in paragraph, define it in a bulleted list. Bulleted lists are very, very concise. They're very persuasive. You don't generally tend to add a lot of fluff to a bulleted list, right? People know you've taken the time to extract the most important points from it. A couple examples. Elected or decided, right? Now, I get a chuckle with this one. Embittered or drank. All right. Contiguous. Can you think of another one for contiguous? Even. Heterogeneous. What is heterogeneous? Of mixed types. There's a whole series of words we tend to pick because we're trying to be professional. And in the long run, we're actually not being professional. Now let's look at some sentence structure. This is grammatically correct. So Theo Walters is only the assistant to Jean Rushmore. It's almost as if we're degrading Theo Walters. But what we actually want our reader to take from that sentence is that Theo is the only assistant to Jean. So notice how switching a few words can change the meaning. Another one, at this point in time, we can't ascertain as to why the screen door was left open. Someone has to think about that twice. That's not concise. It's not persuasive. Change it up and do that. Why? We don't know why the door was left open. Kay's job does not, because it causes great stress, seem worth keeping. Ooh, okay. When I pronounce it, you kind of raise the question mark. So change it up. We often inject commas because there's more in our train of thought. Break the commas up, shorten the sentences up to be more clear and concise. Now, lastly, notice we've got those two commas again, so we're expanding our train of thought into a single sentence. So my sister, who's employed as a nutritionist at the university, recommends the daily intake of mega doses of vitamin C. Shorten it up. Still two commas in there, but if you shorten it up and rearrange it, it is far more concise. Now, who is consuming my content? What do they already know? Don't be repetitious. What do they need to know after reading what I'm presenting? What don't they need to know? What doesn't concern them within the communications I am delivering? What results do I want them to take away from the presentation, the email, the letter? Can I supplement what I'm presenting with attachments or appendices? I get such a pleasant chuckle out of this. We do it constantly. Absolutely essential. Advanced planning. Extremely neglectful. Highly motivated. Excessively undervalued. Don't need all those adjectives. We don't. They mean the same thing. Reduce it. Make it simpler. It is essential. It is neglectful. It is motivational. That's all we need to say. Now let's review this one. A great many words in this sentence are basically. That word basically should grate your hearing. Basically. Basically unnecessary. No, it's unnecessary. It would be really good. No, it would be good to edit somewhat for conciseness. Change it up. Look at the revised one. Many of the words in this sentence are unnecessary. We should edit it. You might not pick that up when you are first composing it. You should go back and rework these sentences. If your audience needs to take a breath when they're reading a sentence, you need to rework it. Conciseness. We use the phrase "at this point in time" quite often. Why not say now? right now. In the event that, well, when? The early part of next week. Well, define it, be concise. Is it going to be Monday? Is it going to be Tuesday? Say when it's going to be. During the time that, change it up to while. Know what negatives and positives are and how we can change them up. We always want our readers to come away thinking that we presented positive information. So consider very carefully the selection of words so that it's focused on them and it's a positive. If you look at this first sentence, if you don't have more than 5 years, that's a negative. That's a negative. Make it concise. If the application or the applicant has more than 5 years, then this is what they can do. The first one is saying don't bother if you don't have more than 5 years. Restructure it so that it's affirmative. Now, I'd like each of you to read this, and then very quickly in the chat window, tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, if you had to take a breath, and then say, yes, it's good, or no, it's not. So yes, I needed to take a breath. Yes, it's good. Or no, I didn't have to take a breath. And yes, it's good. Just put that in the chat window. You took a breath. Most people do. No, it's not good. Yeah. Are you going to have to read this twice? You are going to have to read it twice, aren't you? Yeah. So can we break this up? We absolutely can break this up. Too many words and the entire definition of what is being presented is lost because your brain is trying hard to even understand it. Notice what we can reduce it to. That's what we can reduce it to. Yeah. At this point in time, you should be rethinking that email that you sent off this morning. Hopefully, right? If it is a presentation, you always want to use upbeat, active tones. But you can carry that into digital content. When you create your content, make it active. Involve the reader. Change it up. So this is simple. Both of these are correct, but one is better than the other. The letter was taken to the mailbox by Sally. Okay, yeah, but didn't Sally take the letter? Yes, she did. It's more engaging when you make it active. And you want to be very engaging to have persuasive documentation. Let's change these ones up. I'm going to take just a moment. I want you to read the first one, the first sentence, and think to yourself, is it well written? Could I change it? The answer most likely is, yeah. Let's read the second one. Could I restructure it to be better? Sure could. The third one. Absolutely. It's not that they're inaccurate or wrong. They're not blatantly wrong, but they are not the best way to present the content. So the best way for the first one is the students thought the exam was unfair. Straightforward, active. The focus is on the students, not the exam. The second one, the detectives investigated the evidence. So it is the detectives that are performing the action. They are the focus, not the evidence. Whereas the first statement, the evidence was the focus. And the last one, the doctor cut the patient. The doctor is the focus. Identifying the focus of the sentence and the paragraph is a long way into your persuasive writing. And be complete. There are things that you have to cover. If you always keep in mind the 5 W's, the who, what, where, and when, and why, in mind, and then only restate for effectiveness, that's half the battle. Understand the reader. Understand the reader. If you are presenting something that has negative impacts on the reader, ask yourself, how would I feel if I was getting the email? Right? How would I feel? It's the same when I just send information. How would the reader feel with this information? Would they feel inundated with too much? Would they feel angry that you haven't given them enough? Reread whatever you are doing as if you were the recipient. Now, in part of that, the grammar structure, the punctuation, the selection of phrases, right? You have to do word agreements. So if you look at this first one, it's very, very comical. I've discussed the possibility of stocking the proposed poultry plant with my colleagues. I guess the colleagues are going to run around as poultry. The second one, swinging wildly through the trees, the children were delighted by the monkeys. Oh, the children were swinging. I know you're laughing, but we've done this, haven't we? Dr. Coolidge has already performed 90 heart transplants. Okay, 90. Well, how many more is he going to do? If you change it up, the focus changes and it makes more sense. The focus is where it should be. For the first one, the focus is the discussion with the colleagues, not the colleagues in the poultry plant. The second one, the focus is the monkeys. It's not the people swinging in the trees, it's the monkeys who are swinging in the trees. And the last one, the doctor has performed 90 heart transplants. Not nearly performed. He has performed. Sentences and paragraphs have to be planned. To be concise, to be persuasive, they have to be planned. So you are marketing when you are composing. You are marketing yourself as the composer and then the content itself. So paragraphs need to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, but the whole document does as well. Be very careful of word soup. I love the terms word soup. They didn't ran. No, they didn't run. My family and me. No, it's my family and I. Look at the punctuation. For instance, colon, the first product is rated 9.5 out of 10, semicolon, the second only a 9. That's correct. Your punctuation is correct. But would the reader know that? Well, change it up. Change the sentence up. That's considered a highly complex sentence. If you're unsure of your audience, change it to simple language. Just say the first product got a 9 out of 10 and the second one got a 7. Don't create run-on paragraphs. And what we just experienced, if the recipient of your communication has to take a breath when they are reading a sentence, you better reconstruct it. When you are planning your information, is it going to be chronological? Is it going to be based on priority? Is it going to be generic down to very specific, from pro to con? Follow the communication process in this kind of structured order. Don't be halfway through an email and say, oh, by the way, complete the whole thing. Don't do sidelines in a persuasive document. Know the meaning of the words. If you don't know exactly the meaning of the word or the phrase, pick another one. A lot of individuals don't know that affect and effect are different. They don't. The word there, T-H-E-R-E, and there, T-H-E-Y-R-E, you see that a lot. They are misused. Affect is to influence, to make a change. Effect is the result. Then and there. Pardon me, then and then. Then, comparative. Then, time. It was then time to return, right? With a T-H-E-N. I would rather work past 9 than work on the weekend. So affect and effect. If you don't know the proper use, change the sentence. Now, I always like donuts. That's never a question. But I would rather have a donut than a cupcake. And I would like to eat it now versus then. Now, face-to-face, persuasive writing does extend into face-to-face communications. The same theories apply. If you look at the pie chart, it's just a pie chart. If I were to present or discuss that, how would I present the words, the body language, and the tone to be effective? Well, what am I actually marketing? Words only make up 7% of the communication. Tone of voice is 38%. Body language is 55%. So that's huge, right? Most of our communications today is email. So firstly, why am I writing the email? I don't have to send an email back to someone saying, I got your email. Why am I writing the email? What's the goal? Who's the audience I'm composing to? What information have they either asked for or what I want them to have? And how detailed do they need it? If I want the reader to do something for me, have I been specific enough so they know exactly what I want them to do? It does take a plan. Think of the unconscious questions the recipient is going to have when they receive it. Again, if it's an email, save it into drafts for 10 or 15 minutes, then go back and read it as if it was coming into you. Are all of your questions answered? Do they know what's expected of them and what's going to be expected of you? Now, if you look at this one, this is quite a relaxed communication. Hi, Bob. Right away, that sets up it's a relaxed communication. But I have noticed your website. I help organizations, right? After working with me. So this is focused on the writer. Persuasive writing does not focus on me, it focuses on them. So can we change this up? Well, first of all, you have to proofread it and know where the focus in every sentence is. And in this case, by highlighting them, we can clearly see this is focused on us. So change it. Change it to you. Change it to us. Change it to we, not I. Look at all of these places where we've changed it. The focus is now on them, so they appreciate the focus is on them. If the focus is on them, you have done a more persuasive job. I think that's a given. So you have to turn these tables around. It's all about them when we are doing these persuasive communications. It's not about us. Positive words versus negative words. Positive phrases versus negative phrases. Must, never, should, impossible, unavailable, bad, unworthy. We've used these in our communications before. There are better selections of words that don't offend. Often, now, during, benefit, positive, worthy. Easy to select different words. And please and thank you. Communications quite often have colors. Colors can be very persuasive. The human brain has been taught over time that red is bad. The human brain over time have been taught that green and blue generally are positive colors. You have to be mindful of that when you are presenting communications. If you look closely at this, the red is 75,000 in revenue. That's good. And the green is negative. It's a negative loss. So be mindful of the colors that you pick in an email, in a letter, in a presentation. Email is the largest percent of our communications today. So in your structure, you want to do a catch as soon as possible. Where's that catch? It's in the subject line. Make your subject line in the email persuasive by telling the user what they're going to get out of the email. It's an introduction, but they know that there's something in it for them. If there are attachments, the first thing in the body of the email is the statement, I have attached these documents, and list them, so that you tell the respondent, the person getting it, you've taken the time to inform them outside of the basic email. And try to make the email short so they don't have to scroll down for pages. If you are composing and you are angry, if you are composing and there is a sense of urgency, still save it as a draft. Wait. Proof it again. And if you possibly can, have someone else proof it, if you can, to know that you are not letting your emotions construct the email, but you're constructing it for an emotional response from the recipient. Outlook has a delay feature. Most email products have a delay feature, right? Most email technology, you cannot retract it. Again, if you proof it as if you are the recipient, you'll be able to sense whether you should rework that for a negative response. So there's a lot of things to think about when you are composing or delivering. Communications, to be persuasive, has a lot of working parts to it. It's got all of those W's, the who, what, where, why, and when. It's got all of those C's, the concise, the clarity, right? It's got this emotional component to it. and the amount of information. You have to take the time to be serious about your business communications. If you're asking someone to do something, stress that it's not just for your benefit, but it's for their benefit. So the 5 C's is where it's all starting, right? And it might mean that you have to change your normal way of composing. But that's a good thing. Change could be another C here. So we're going to open the floor up to questions or comments. Right? And I'm going to have Mel go back to her screen share.
Yes, thank you, Carol. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. Drop your questions in the chat. Absolutely. While you're doing that, let me just show you a couple things on our site. One is the free resources, the webinars, how you got here today. But it's just some of our upcoming webinars. We've got a really good one in November about infographics in PowerPoint with Gloria, another great way to communicate information. This one here, a practical guide to Power BI. Business intelligence is becoming so important. So that's going to be a really interesting one with Greg there. And for our public sector clients especially, he's going to be looking at government data, which is fantastic. And then Power Automate, another really popular one right now. Automation is such a buzzword right now, right? So if you had signed up for our one, Empathy in Business, it was originally scheduled for January. We are rescheduling it. And as soon as we have a date confirmed, we're going to send that information. So that's our webinars. We also have other free resources. We've got some really great downloads that you can print and put up, some shortcuts that I use all the time, and our blog, a lot of good articles. If you enjoyed this and you're wondering, when can I learn more? Our writing. So if you go to courses and then writing there, business writing that works expands on what Carol talked about today. So that's our next upcoming public class, and there'll be more scheduled there. And then again, for our public sector attendees, government briefing notes can really help you with that. Yeah. And so do we have any questions in there, Avery?
We had a question for Carol. If I have a lot of documents in an email, to be persuasive, should I list them all in the email?
Absolutely. And a really nice hint is when you're listing them, say, this will open with this product. For example, if you say you're sending a PDF, this will open with Adobe Reader or a browser.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like we have another question in. Mm-hmm. Do you think it's a good idea for someone to proofread an email before sending it?
Always proof at least once, if you have the luxury of time, twice. And quite often, if you have a colleague handy and it's going externally, have them proof it as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
I had also gotten a note, Carol, that with affect and effect,
mm-hmm.
affect can be used as a noun, like a patient's affect. It's used in, I did not know that. I learned that today.
There's actually quite a few words like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. So if we don't have any more questions, this is great. So keep an eye on your emails. Tomorrow you'll be getting the recording and you'll be getting the handout. So you'll have that there. And if anything pops into your mind, please feel free to reach out to us. We've got our contact information there. Carol, again, cannot thank you enough for that great presentation. I really
Aw.
enjoyed that, and I'm gonna go back to all my emails that I sent this morning and, pick
And
them apart,
rework them. Absolutely.
rework them. But this was so helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I'll just double check. Great. So I'm gonna go ahead and shut down the room. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming today.
Take care. Bye for now.
Oh, actually, sorry, Avery, you're the host. You need to shut down the room.
Oh, absolutely. I'll do that right now.
Sorry about that.
No problem.